Hey guys, welcome to Athens Twilight Speed Week. We are doing a review, current status, and what the future of Twilight and, of course, of what Speed Week is. My name's Chad Andrews. So this will be my 19th year commentating. I think that's before even Hernandez was even born. But it was after Craven won his Twilight. So I'm clearly sandwiched in between our two guests. Of course, Thomas Craven, Team Director Sportif of American Cycling. Michael Hernandez, the big hit man for the team. Gents, welcome to, what's today, Monday? Welcome. Happy Monday.
Thank you.
Monday.
Thank you very much. I think my first Athens Twilight was actually 1983. First time I ever attended and raced as a Cat 3.
Oh, you did it as a Cat 3?
Mm-hmm. Did the win and out.
That was back in the day with a win and out. Mike, do you know what a win and out is?
From the track, yeah.
Okay. That's essentially what that is.
I got
You're out. All right. So let's just talk cycling in general. As we head into 2023, there's a new team. Actually, Thomas, you and I were talking, I think, at the end of last year about things that may be happening in your space from a team director standpoint. And obviously your relationship with Michael has kind of manifested itself over the years with what was formerly known as Best Buddies. Thomas, give me an idea of how your team, American Cycling, kind of came to fruition.
Well, we had such a good run with it last year. It was a shame to be able to sort of, shelve that. And Mike and I talked a lot going into the end of the season because we knew things were sort of stopping. We had a hard stop on that. So we were able to reach out to a couple of our current sponsors, reach out to a couple of sponsors that sort of had a background interest in the team. And really incorporate a good man, Pablo Santa Cruz. And we were able to pull together, the outline of a team. And it was really through Mike's efforts with Pablo, some of the other sponsors that he's been talking to over the years, the relationships that we both had with industry people as well as outside just fans. And we started putting it together probably around in November. We really started getting it together again. Maybe before that, I guess, really October or so.
Yeah, that's actually when you and I talked. And it's like, there might be something in the hopper, but I really can't talk about it. So clearly here we are 4 or 5 months later talking about it. And Michael, how are you instrumental in making this whole thing go down? Obviously talking to Thomas in the past and you guys' relationship, but from your perspective and your relationships with Pablo, for those of you guys who don't know Pablo is one of the masters guys in Florida, and he's highly, influential in the cycling community down there. And Michael, you being in South Florida, tell us a little bit about how it all came together for you.
Yeah, so in 2020, I rode for Pablo's team, Florida Velo, along with Keel Campbell and a kid that doesn't race anymore, Justin Pfaff. We kind of redid the whole Florida Velo Elite thing that he did years ago with Ken Vita. And, from that, I sprouted into Best Buddies and all that. So I've known Pablo for my whole cycling time, so 13 years, more or less. And yeah, so, Craven and I we were frustrated at the fact that we had what we agree was the best crit team in 2022. And the fact that that team was, at least from a staffing, rider, support standpoint, wasn't going to happen anymore. So, we kind of we spoke to each other. I mean, initially it was Craven and I just like, is this something that we want to keep doing? Is it something that we want to put in the groundwork for? And if we do it, how do we want to do it? And that's where I think Pablo came in really well with kind of a framework, but using Craven's expertise, my eagerness to keep racing and keeping in the sport. So I think like all three of those minds kind of work together in a different space, but to create, it's not a reincarnation of Best Buddies Racing. It's something new. It just has a lot of the same backbone that we had in Best Buddies Racing.
So Thomas, why keep going? Why keep doing it?
Chad, I've got the FOMO like nobody's business, man. I've been at this for so long that one day it's going to pay off, right? I enjoy being around guys like Mike. All the cycling and coming to events like Athens. I can't get away from it. I love the bike racing and crits are where I grew up. So I like going to the races, and it seems like there's a lot of energy around cycling. Maybe I don't agree with all of it. I don't understand all of it, but there's a lot of talk, and I think that the sport is not dead. You know, I mean, James kept Athens alive forever. It's what I grew up doing. I think a lot of people need to be exposed to it. It's a blast. So I can't get away. I got to do it.
It's in your DNA. It's in your blood. All right. So then why don't we do this? I'm going to do a little bit of humility here. I'm going to flash back to 2022 in the Athens Twilight. And of course, there was a great battle going on between the local guy and Ty, and then Best Buddies team, and the, you know, and the sometimes positive aspect of you guys battle with Legion last year. And then the negative, there was some negative. We're not even going to dwell on that. That's over and done with. Flashing back to the end of 2022, when I, you know, of course, my commentary, I have to make a prediction. So I called it, got it wrong. Thomas came by, did a little flyby, gave me a little look like, never doubt me again. And I smiled because I appreciate that. I really did. What's it take, Thomas, first you, and then we'll go to Michael, to win something? Well, no, actually, let me back up a little bit. What's it like, Thomas, to be at Athens Twilight? Because you were I did a showcase on social media about the former winners of Athens. And I'm sure it was a little nostalgia. What's it take and what's it like to win Athens?
I think Athens is like one of the few races that I get nervous for as a director, as well as I was super pumped up to do it as an athlete. Just the crowd, the atmosphere, the town, you know, I love Athens. I love being there. And so just even driving there, I'm just talking about it, I'm getting little goosebumps right now. But last year, I mean, being able to sort of know what's going to happen, that was it's the different course. So it's a little bit different. So what are we doing this year? Is it going to be the same as last year? Or?
Nope.
Okay. It's back to the
old school.
Oof. So the hill, either way, I mean, everybody thinks it's flat. It's not. I mean, that course hurts. And so, you know, knowing what the course is, knowing the riders and seeing them. So that the week leading into it, you know, watching Ty, watching the Legion guys, knowing what they're doing and how they're going to burn their matches, and then knowing our guys, you know, was sort of played into it. I mean, if you remember, the break went sort of early. It's a big break. Had Ty and two other guys in there from Legion, had Mike and Gomez, and was like, you know, what that was the play. And those are the only guys. I mean, it was going to come down to Ty and Gomez or Alfredo. And the fact that we had Mike in there, he's worth two guys. So I was like, yeah, that's an even break for us. And then it could have been a little dicey going into it if it was just the break not lapping. But I knew that those guys wanted to lap because I could see it in the way that they were trying to ride, that they wanted to lap the field. That then put us back on square one with everybody. So I had enough confidence in our lead out with Gomez, and I knew that the pressure was on Ty. You know, he's been there every year and gotten second a lot.
Yeah, trust me, I brought that up, and that didn't go over well. God bless you, Ty. But I was like, okay, guys, what's it going to take? I was like, they're so tired of hearing about it. But anyway,
even I mean, when Ty rode for me, you know, he got second to Holloway there, which I thought we were going to win that one as well. I mean, and so and then leading out Murphy, you know, you got second there, and then I can't remember some of the other ones, but it's great to be able to see that race. And the cool thing about it is it's a clean race. When you win, you're excited, and if you lose, you're like bummed out. But it's not the end of the world. You know, that was a great race. I mean, that was a great event last year. It's always a cool race, you know, no matter how it happens. I mean, that was one of the better events of the year, simply because it was a real bike race. You know, we see too many times it's just like a parade and then a sprint. And that had some guts. People were coming apart at the seams there. That was good. And some of the local guys.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Thomas.
Some of the local guys too. So there was guys in the break that you know are keyed up for that thing. I forget some of the guys' names, but you know I've seen them all year and saw them how they were riding prior to that, and everybody that needed to make the break made the break.
So let's talk about the break then, Michael, and we'll keep it, because we could talk ad nauseum about the tactics of the breakaway or whatever. Tell the neophyte or the person who's a bike racing fan but doesn't really understand the bike racing, because at Twilight, it truly is the dynamic of the college students who have no clue and don't really care. They're just there for the party. And then you have the casual fans, and you have the people that watch on live stream. And then you have the advanced people who really understand the dynamic of crit racing. The break's gone. Are you guys talking to each other? Legion, best buddies, amateurs, whatever, or is it just clock in, clock out?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess to put all that together, like, you know, I don't think the college kids care particularly, and not that they don't care about the bike race. I think that what makes Athens as cool as it does, and what makes it, in my opinion, it's the biggest one-day show of the year, is the fact that even kind of to what Craven was saying, like, we go on our morning spin, you ride through campus, and like people that aren't bike racers, you know, they're not bike riders, they're yelling at you on the street like, hey, see you tonight, whatever. Like, you know, the town, the city, the school, they get into it, and that is what creates that vibe, and that's what raises everybody's level, I think. And you know, it, to Craven's point, like, kid on our team, well, he's an older guy on our team, Sebastian Cano, he was in that break with us last year too, and he's on our team this year. He raced for SoFlo Racing last year, and you know, he was at that level, but then, like, you know, Athens just kind of raised his level again, because everybody knows it's the show. It's where you have to perform. And you know, and then to your question, Chad, like, you know, Brian and I were talking at least once a lap. Like, we knew with, you know, Legion having 3 guys there, it wasn't the best case scenario for us. But then that's where, you know, Craven was saying, like, you know, that's why we wanted to lap. We knew that we get back with Alfredo, we get back with Ben, we get back with Danny and Tanner. Like, you know, we're confident in that. And then in the sprint, like, you know, I was just telling Brian, like, just bide his time. And we knew all day, we knew all year Brian wanted to win that race. So it was that day, you know, I could see it in him. He was motivated for it. So we knew, like, kind of what we had to do to get there and the position he needed to be in to do it. And so, yeah, just talking about, like, hey, how you feeling? You know, reminding each other simple things, eat, drink, you know, like, you know, ease up on the front a little bit if you don't need to be the guy driving it, or go harder if we need to go harder. You know, we wanted to make sure that gap wasn't going to come back in a inconvenient time. So a lot of communication.
Only person we had to beat was Ty. I mean, we knew
Yeah.
Ty was going to try and win the race, and
Yeah,
Legion was there.
exactly. We knew, you know, I guess this is a little tactics, but like, when we knew we were going to lap, and I think it was like right at one of the mid-race preem, or I think it was exactly at that halfway preem, with the points preem and everything. And so I went full gas for that, and I jumped the field on the backstretch to lap the field early, because I knew Ty would be the one to panic, to then also need to lap. So I knew that was just like one more match he was going to burn on himself. And so, yeah, there's things like that I told Brian, like, I'm going to go for this. And then just like when Ty goes, you have to follow him. And so, you know, I was the first one to make it to the field, but then Ty was the second one, because I knew he wanted it so bad that he was going to be there. So those little tactic things, we are talking during the race too. It's not just like, hey, how you feeling? And with Craven on the side of the road, you know, we knew where Craven was the whole time. So, you know, has very expression, a lot of facial expressions where that doesn't look good.
Yeah, the only time it was I had a bad face was when I heard Chad say, "Well, I think I'm going to have Ty Magner on the win of this one." I was like, looking around,
calling me out.
Kidding me?
It wasn't a homer call. It's like, God, the guy's been second so many times. It's like, okay, maybe this is his time. Hey, I got it wrong. I've gotten it wrong so many times in my life. I'm purely capable of admitting that I get it wrong, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I've called Gomez winning and Michael winning. I get it wrong more than I get it right, but that's part of the fun of what I do.
I think he even called me out personally, though. She said, I think Craven made a big mistake in letting this one go.
Yeah. Hey, and that's okay. It's many times I've gotten it right with you, Craven, so that's why I do what I do, and I get it wrong. And I love the fact that you can come up to me and go, you know, flip me the bird and walk by and go, that's what you get for picking. I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. Anyway, let's not talk about my inability to be able to call a bike race. Tell us a little bit about the team, Michael, as we head into 2023. And obviously Twilight being the first race of the ACC, that's kind of big. It like changed the whole I mean, Athens is always big, but you've got the ACC, and you've got Sunny King, and you've got Twilight. So there's some big races heading into April.
Yeah, well, Sunny King is now after Twilight, so I think
May,
in Athens being the first one of Speed Week, it's that's going to be, I believe it's the first one of Speed Week. If I looked at the, yeah, that's always I think it's going to be really interesting, and I guess dangerous in a way. There's always extra nerves at Athens anyway, so to make it the first race of the year, that's like a big deal, and with the ACC and everything, I think it's going to be a lot of nerves, a lot of edge, a lot of built up testosterone. But like for us, that's what that's why we do these local races. That's why we've been racing since January down here in Florida. We have a really good team again this year. We lost Brian Alfredo, but and we lost a couple guys to Miami Blazers as well. But we kept the four guys that were on our roster last year: myself, Robert, Sierra, Ben Wolf, and Danny Summerhill. And then we bolstered our roster pretty well with 4 new guys. One guy down here in South Florida, Sebastian Cano. We picked up Brendan Rim, who's historically ran really well at Athens Twilight. And then 2 Colombian guys, Jaime Castaneda and Jordan Parra. So both those guys came and raced with us down here in Miami, and those guys, they're ready to rock and roll too. So it's gonna be a good year for us. I'm excited. Craven's excited. I think we're in a very similar boat that we were last year. That we're going to be extremely competitive in just about any crit we start.
Yeah, after the burn down after COVID, it's so nice to see so many race series and so many races already starting so early. So I'm thankful for it, and I know you guys are. Thomas, I know you need to catch a flight. Can you give me some insight on how you're going to approach quickly? Not so quickly. It's up to you. You got to catch the flight, not me. How you're going to take, first of all, number one, Athens being the first race of Speed Week, and sometimes it's flipped and it's been the last week. So it kind of reminds me, I'm living in NASCAR country, and Thomas, you're clearly from NASCAR country as well.
It's the Daytona 500.
It's Daytona 500 to start off the season. So does that change does it, like, from an exhaustion level, having that big of a race to start the season and just trying to keep the guys motivated throughout? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's just like the Daytona. I mean, it's if you win, you're in, that's one of the ones you want to win. So just because it's first doesn't mean that it is going to be any different to me. I mean, that's the one we want to win. That sets the tone for the rest of the season. Again, it's going to be a great race, and just like, unfortunately, watching the Daytona yesterday, I still don't know who won because the way that they scored that.
I don't even want to talk about that.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, we're going to know who wins. We're going to race it just like we always do. And back to the old course, I won that race personally, and won it with the team. I wish we had a couple more races, bigger races to test the waters with. But we're definitely going to be. We're racing this weekend down in Florida. The guys have been together. These guys, they're not newbies out there.
Michael, who are some of the main sponsors for the team? Give them a shout out before we roll.
Yeah, so our product sponsors this year, we're sticking with BMC. Shimano stayed on board. First Endurance still on board for product stuff, and then we picked up some new guys with Loon Wheels. You got to
take off.
Bye, Thomas. Have a safe flight. I'll finish with Michael.
Yeah, so we picked up Loon Wheels. Along with Protein X. They're a pure protein company, so another nutrition company. And then support financially, our biggest financial supporter is HDR Construction. They were our presenting sponsor from Best Buddies Racing, and so they transferred over into a much bigger role with what we're doing this year, along with a company K2 Medical Research. And then, like Best Buddies Racing, we are a charity-based team. We are a cause-based team, and we're riding this year for a company called Voice of Alzheimer's. We partnered with them with the plan to spread the mission of there's a lot of medical research and things going into I guess a cure for Alzheimer's. I wouldn't say they're at a cure yet, but they are at a stage where they can slow down that just downward spiral. So we're really trying to spread that awareness and show that that it's not a I guess it's not a death sentence right away. So yeah, so there's a lot of exciting stuff coming from us, and Pablo's helped a lot with creating a lot of the buzz and what we're trying to do off the bike as well. The show that I think problem for a lot of cycling teams, and the reason they're short lived, is that there's not been a very good basis to show ROI, that return on investment for supporters. So really trying to capitalize on how to quantify that. For us to use, obviously, but then for other cycling teams to also use, and make cycling in general more sustainable for people.
Last question. On a scale of 1 to 10, now that we've gotten rid of Thomas.
Craven.
On a scale of 1 to 10, and I want you to think about this, be very, and I know you're capable of it, Michael. You're sarcastic, but you also have got a teddy bear heart. I know that. Give me your nerves. Even though you're a savvy veteran bike race, your nerves right now, because everybody wants to win Athens. And I know you'd like to win Athens. I know it's a team thing, but to have Athens in your back pocket, it's a pretty big thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is like lights out. I'm ready to go. I'm super amped. I'm nervous. I'm like butterflies. To 1 being like, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm going to have, a cupcake. Where are you right now?
In terms of nerves for Athens?
Just your general overall feel. And that's including nerves, because Athens, the component of Athens is nervous.
Well, I think, historically, I've never won Athens. I'll throw that out there. But historically, I've generally ridden pretty well at Athens. And I think part of that is I'm not generally a nervous bike racer. I love Athens from the excitement of the whole, I love the whole parade before it. Like you get there, the city's buzzing, the stuff going on before the race. You get to the race. My wife is a bike racer, so I get to get there a little early, and I just walk through the crowd. I generally take 1 lap and just walk around the whole mess going on, just to kind of feel that vibe, because that just excites me more than it does get me anxious or nervous. So I try to look at every bike race. This is what I do. It's my job. It's who I am. So Athens just kind of gets me more excited than that. And so for me, really, right now, I guess I'm at it might sound like toned down, but I guess I'm at a 5.
That's higher than I would have thought you would have said.
Well, because I see Athens, I guess with Athens being that first race, my nerves would be the fact that, you don't really know where you are in that national level field until that first race. And that first one is generally a kick in the gut. And so, trying to figure out how I want to prep for that perfectly, going in and finding, the right training rides, the right practice races and things like that to really make sure you're sharp when you get there. I think for me is going to be that's the ticket, the nerves and excitement that's always going to be there. Like I love what I do with bike racing. And so, and Athens is always, I'm excited to go back to that old course because it means I can eat a couple more cupcakes, and the hill's a little smaller, but yeah, no, I'm excited to race on that course. The only time I ever started Athens on that course was with a broken hand, and I had to pull out on the first lap. So I just started to get the start points for Speed Week.
Well, you're quite loquacious. I'm going to give you this one final answer before we get out of here. I'm going to give you 3 scenarios, and you tell me then when does it become real?
All right.
Team meeting, call-ups, or first lap?
First lap. Yeah.
So all the rest of it's just pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. When they say go, that's when it's on. Because I for me, it's I see guys like I'll look over at somebody and their heart rate's like 150 on the start line. Like, dude, relax. And that's generally the guy he forgets to turn at the first corner and just goes straight. And you're like, ooh. But yeah. So no, I try to keep it as calm, cool, collected until we get rolling.
Well, good. Well, listen, I wish you and the team, American Cycling, best of luck. New riders in, old riders out, but mostly the stability of the team between you and Craven, and obviously having Pablo on board is going to make for an interesting start to the season. I'm personally looking forward to it. I get to do a lot of the ACC races this year, so I'm sure I'll be seeing a lot, and you can call me out in my medium jersey as much as you care to.
Well, thank you, Chad. We appreciate the time. I know Craig had to get off, but we appreciate this.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, have a great night. Hang on. We're going to stop here, but for those of you watching the video, hope you enjoyed it. Speed Week is coming up. I mean, we're literally talking, a month and change before we get rolling. So it's on. Michael Hernandez, formerly for Thomas Craven, who had to jet to the airport. Chad Andrews here. Have a good day.